The universe has a strange appetite for balance. It lets people throw thorns at you just long enough to let them believe they've won before making them walk barefoot through the chaos they created. That's the twist they never see coming. While they were busy stacking traps in your path, they were actually laying the blueprint of their own collapse. Because you, chosen one, are not some background character in their fantasy. You are the karmic twist they never rehearsed for. They tried to bury you in lies, in silence, in shame. But what they didn't realize is the soil they thought would suffocate you just rooted you deeper. The very curses they whispered became the wind beneath your evolution. That's the thing about universal justice. It doesn't strike loud, it strikes smart. And now, every ounce of energy they used trying to derail you is working overtime to deliver your glow into the rooms they said you'd never enter. They called it revenge, but this is alignment. Because your power didn't just survive their sabotage, it sharpened in it. You became a silent revolution, the kind of force that doesn't knock, just enters and shifts the temperature. You are the reason the air feels heavier when your name comes up. You are the one whose silence echoes like judgment in their guilty minds. And before we dive into this truth even deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's make sure this reaches another chosen one still forgetting they're not broken, just being weaponized. Because trust this, your rise isn't a threat, it's a prophecy fulfilled. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. Because if this message is vibrating in your chest, it's not by accident. Your energy has already been stirring rooms you haven't even entered. Your name is starting arguments behind closed doors. And what you're about to hear next will confirm why they're losing sleep over someone they swore was irrelevant. So do this, lock it in, hit that like button, subscribe to amplify this wave, and drop the number 88 in the comments if you can feel your power stepping in before you do. Because if you're truly chosen, your presence alone is already flipping the script. Let's get started. Number 1. Don't let them erase you. Stand tall as the proof they can't delete. You were never built to beg for space at broken tables. You were coded to collapse illusions. While they were busy trying to keep you out of rooms, your name was already rewriting the script inside them. You've become a presence so undeniable it walks in ahead of you, disrupting atmospheres, shattering fake alliances, and cracking fragile egos like glass under pressure. You're not just shaking the table. You've got the floorboards beneath it trembling, and they can't figure out how you're doing it without even being there. Let's talk about it. These people built their identity on the assumption that you'd stay small. They felt safe only when your light was dimmed, but now your silence is speaking louder than their entire existence. While they shout for attention, your absence alone is causing chaos. They scream for validation. You breathe and shift realities. And that right there, that's the difference. You weren't sent to audition for relevance. You were assigned with presence. You didn't crawl out of your storms just to play it safe. You came out electrified. You're the system glitch they didn't account for. But let's be honest, chosen one, you doubted. You sat in the quiet, second-guessing your clarity, wondering if the friction you felt was in your head. You questioned your own instincts, called your discernment too sensitive, and mistook spiritual radar for anxiety. But how can someone born aligned be crazy for sensing chaos before it explodes? That wasn't overreaction. That was resonance. You don't react to noise. You feel frequency. And what you felt was real. Their energy was already off. Their smiles were already hollow. And now, you're the ghost in the room they can't silence. The prophecy in motion they can't unwrite. The very thing they feared is the only thing they can't ignore. So don't shrink, don't second guess. You're not disturbing the peace, you're disturbing the pretense. You're not the villain, they just hate that you finally realized the game was rigged. And now that you're moving like the power you were born to be, their strategy has collapsed. Number 2. Stop making survival digestible. Own the fire they couldn't kill. They didn't just want to see you fall, they wanted to watch you fold. They built entire fantasies around your collapse. They waited for your silence to become your grave. But here you are, walking, rising, commanding attention in places your pain was supposed to keep you out of. And somehow, despite every weapon aimed at your soul, you didn't just survive, you alchemized. But here's the trap. You've been taught to make that survival easier for them to swallow. You've softened your edges, buried the brilliance, downplayed your grit, just to make others feel comfortable in your light. But why? They didn't hold back when they threw the fire. They didn't hesitate when they twisted the knife. So why do you feel guilty for being the one who lived? This is where that ends. Stop packaging your power to make it palatable. You didn't walk through flames just to come out quiet. Your survival isn't a secret. It's a sentence they'll read every time your name echoes in spaces they tried to erase you from. You are not a feel-good story. You are the reminder. You are the mirror. You are the evidence that they failed. They couldn't kill the fire. So now let it burn louder. Your glow is not for negotiation. Your comeback is not a courtesy. And your silence, it's no longer submission. It's strategy. You don't owe softness to the same world that tried to extinguish your flame. You're the fire that refused to go out, and now you're burning your way into rooms they thought you'd never survive long enough to reach. Number 3. Quit mistaking silence for abandonment. That isolation was your initiation. They thought your silence was a sign of weakness, that the absence of noise meant you'd given up. But what they didn't realize was this. You were being stripped down and weaponized in secret. Chosen one, your isolation wasn't a punishment. It was a sacred recalibration. You weren't left behind. You were pulled back, sharpened, and set on fire in the dark. Because when the universe really wants to unleash something unstoppable, it hides it first. And while they were celebrating your disappearance, throwing parties over your silence, calling your distance defeat, you were evolving in stealth. Their biggest mistake was thinking the storm around you was your undoing, when really it was your rebirth. Let them talk, let them assume, because every room they kept you out of is now being rearranged by your presence before you even arrive. Your solitude didn't shrink your power, it concentrated it. You're not just walking back into the world, you're entering it as a force that can't be contained, explained, or replicated. That version of you they thought was finished, that was the cocoon. This is the weapon, the one who no longer explains their silence, the one who doesn't wait for validation, the one who understands that isolation wasn't the absence of support, it was the removal of contamination. Remember this. Those who ascend in front of the crowd are often made fragile, but those who are built in silence, they shake the table the moment they arrive. And baby, you just arrived. Number 4. Stop being their shield. Let their lies burn without your cover. Chosen one, they didn't just depend on your energy. They hid behind it. You were their alibi in every disaster they caused. While they whispered behind closed doors, you were the light keeping the whole structure from collapsing. They painted you as the problem while feeding off the protection your presence provided. But here's the hard truth. They never wanted peace. They wanted a place to hide their dysfunction behind your loyalty. You weren't just part of their story. You were the cover story. And the moment you walked out, the whole narrative started unraveling. Their masks started slipping. Their peace turned chaotic, because you were the silence that made their noise seem manageable. You were the calm that gave their chaos context. Now that you're no longer there to absorb the backlash, it's hitting them in full force, and they're scrambling. Let it. Let them feel the exposure they thought they'd never have to face. Let their carefully constructed lies burn in the absence of your grace. Don't run back in with water. Don't explain, clarify, or correct. That's not your job anymore. You weren't sent here to be a firewall for people who start fires and scream victim when the flames reach them. You are not their shield. You are the reason their illusion is falling apart. Let it fall. You're not shaking the table because you're loud. You're shaking it because your silence removed the cover, and now the truth is screaming on its own. Number 5. Don't mourn what collapsed. It was built on your bones, not truth. Stop grieving the ruins. They were never sacred. What fell wasn't yours to begin with. It was a structure stitched together from your silence, your sacrifice, your stolen essence. They built entire identities standing on your back, and now that you've risen, the foundation is cracking beneath them. Chosen One, they didn't just take from you. They studied your wounds and turned them into content. They saw your breakdowns as branding, copied your resilience like it was a formula, pretended to be what they mocked, until the mask slipped, until your name started surfacing again, not from your lips, but from the mouths of those watching the fallout. And now, the kingdom they built on your bones is dust, because what's taken through deception can never survive alignment. They borrowed your blueprint, but not your burden. They wanted your crown, but skipped the crucifixion. And that's why everything they built is screaming under pressure. Let them collapse. Let them fumble. Let them explain to their crowd why everything they touched turns hollow without you. You weren't just part of the story. They used you as the entire plot line. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You walked away. You didn't beg. You didn't expose them. You just rose. And your success, it's the seismic shift exposing the fault lines they tried to hide. So no, don't mourn the collapse. Celebrate the clearance. The universe removed the counterfeit so the original could finally be seen. You. Number 6. Stop asking why they hate you. Start owning why you terrify them. Let's drop the illusions. They don't hate your personality. They don't hate your voice, your style, your glow-up. No, what really burns them is this. You weren't supposed to survive. You weren't supposed to rebuild. You weren't supposed to figure it out without them. But you did. And now, your very existence is a problem they can't solve. You've become the reflection they can't unsee, the threat they can't neutralize. Your rise is pulling oxygen from rooms they thought they controlled. Your growth is proof that their version of you, the broken one, the silent one, the small one, was always a lie. See, the hate is just the mask. Underneath, it's panic, it's fear. It's the deep, soul-level discomfort that hits them when your name gets brought up. It's that internal earthquake they feel when they hear you're doing better, when they see you stepping into places they tried to lock you out of. You don't even have to be in the room. Your energy already is. They see you as dangerous. And they're right, because you've stepped out of their script. You're no longer seeking validation, and that terrifies people who once lived off your confusion. You stopped playing safe. You stopped showing up to shrink. So stop wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You became unforgettable. And now they're stuck choking on a version of you they thought would never exist. That's not hate, that's recognition. And Chosen One, you've earned every tremor your success sends through their false little kingdoms. Keep rising, keep haunting, keep shaking the table. Number 7. Don't dismiss your intuition. That overreaction was a warning signal. They told you that you were being dramatic, too intense, overthinking. But they only said that because you noticed what they prayed would stay hidden. You didn't just sense the shift, you felt it in your bones before anyone said a word. That wasn't overreaction. That was high-frequency awareness in a room full of low-vibration actors. You were reading the energy behind the performance, and it terrified them. Your intuition has always been your superpower. The problem? You kept translating it into self-doubt to keep the peace. You ignored the tension in their tone, You made excuses for the silence that followed your glow. You swallowed warnings because you didn't want to be too much. But chosen one, you weren't reacting to nothing. You were intercepting the signal before the explosion. You were hearing what wasn't said and seeing through smiles that cracked under pressure. You were shaking tables long before you stepped in the room. And their first instinct? Dismiss you, discredit you, gaslight you, because if they could make you doubt your gift, they could delay their own exposure, but not anymore. This season, you don't apologize for knowing before it's spoken. You don't second-guess a soul signal that's been trained through fire. You trust it, you move with it, because your intuition isn't extra, it's exact. And the same people who called you crazy are now haunted by how right you were. You're not paranoid, you're prepared. Number 8. Quit apologizing for rising. Your glow isn't meant to be dimmed. Chosen one, it's time to stop making your success easier for small minds to swallow. You weren't designed to dim just because they never learned how to handle the heat of real energy. You've bent yourself backwards, trying to stay digestible for people who gagged on your authenticity. You've softened your tone, downplayed your wins, smiled through gritted teeth just to keep the peace when you were born to disrupt every fake system built on illusion. Why are you saying sorry for standing up after they swore you'd stay down? They didn't hesitate to laugh when you bled. They didn't flinch when they twisted the knife. So why are you hesitant now that you're glowing? Why are you still explaining yourself when you've already survived what was meant to destroy you? They called it ego, but it was evidence. They labeled it arrogance, but it was alignment. They say you've changed, but that's the whole point. You were never meant to stay the version they could control. Stop feeling guilty for growing. They don't miss you. They miss the access they had to a weaker version of you, the one who still asked for permission, the one who second-guessed their power. But that version is gone. And now, you're shaking tables they thought belonged to them. Let your glow blind every liar who tried to dim you, and don't look back. Number 9. Stop calling it rejection. You were pulled back to be powered up. They called it rejection. You thought it was abandonment, but the truth is, you were never being pushed away. You were being pulled back like a slingshot about to launch. The delay wasn't denial, it was strategy, because the universe doesn't release power prematurely. It waits until silence becomes a weapon and your name becomes a storm they can feel before you even arrive. They thought cutting you off would kill your momentum. They thought leaving you out would slow your rise. But what they didn't know is that rejection is just redirection wearing a mask. And now you're shaking rooms you never even stepped in because what was loading in private is about to hit public like thunder. While they were whispering behind closed doors, you were being built in silence. The invitations you never got. That was protection in disguise, the support that never came. That was clearance being revoked for people who couldn't carry your next chapter. You weren't being excluded, you were being extracted from systems too weak to handle your blueprint. And now look, the very tables they denied you are cracking at the edges, because you're the one they tried to dismiss, but can't stop feeling. You were never denied access, you were the access. So stop mourning the rooms you were rejected from. Your success is now showing up in those rooms without you. And trust me, they're losing their grip, trying to figure out how. Number 10. Don't confuse attack with defeat. Every hit was building your armor. Chosen one, they didn't just come for you to hurt you. They came for you to test what you were really made of. But here's what they never understood. Every dart they threw, every lie they crafted, every betrayal they engineered, it didn't dismantle you, it refined you. The fire they set wasn't your funeral, it was your forge. You were never the easy target they assumed. You were the blueprint being battle-tested in silence. You took those hits and turned them into high-grade armor, stitched together by resilience and sealed with unshakable clarity. That pain, it didn't break you. It taught you how to walk through fire without flinching. That sabotage, it didn't ruin your path. It rerouted you into destiny with surgical precision. And now, you're walking proof that pressure builds weapons, not victims. You don't just survive war, you absorb it, wear it, and walk back into the world glowing like vengeance in motion. That's why they're scared. That's why they're spiraling. Because the version of you they tried to destroy is long gone, and the one that rose in its place. It doesn't beg, it doesn't break, and it damn sure doesn't forget. So don't confuse attack with defeat. The blows weren't setbacks, they were blueprints, they were data. And now you're built like prophecy. You're shaking tables in rooms you haven't even walked into, and the nightmare for them isn't that you survived. Number 11. Stop letting imitators fool you. You're the original they're chasing. Let's set the record straight. They never hated you. They studied you, watched your rhythm like it was choreography, took notes on your glow, then tried to dim it just enough to claim it. But you weren't a trend to copy, you were a transmission. And no matter how many masks they put on, your frequency can't be forged. They tried to remix your essence and call it authenticity, tried to dress like you, talk like you, even think like you, but still couldn't walk like you, because imitation can't mimic soul. They weren't drawn to you because you were loud. They were drawn because you were real, and real always threatens the artificial. Let them talk, let them post, let them strut around in a costume stitched from your discarded phases, because no matter how closely they mimic your outer form, they'll never download the code. You weren't built, you were born. The original blueprint, the spark before the fire. And now that your success is shaking rooms you haven't even stepped into, the counterfeit can't survive under your shadow. Every time your name comes up, they flinch, not because you're aggressive, but because you expose the gaps they can't fill. Your silence convicts them. Your presence unmasks them. You didn't just rise, you made the game reset, and now they're chasing a version of you that keeps evolving past their reach. So stop shrinking when they start imitating. That's not competition, that's confirmation. You're the standard, you're the one, and no replica can ever replace the original. Number 12. Don't seek revenge. Let your rise be the truth they can't escape. Revenge? That's too small for someone like you. You're not here to throw stones. You are the avalanche. You don't need to return fire when your very presence melts the mask off their face. The old version of you might have wanted to clap back, prove something, expose every lie. But not this version, not the one who's got their entire world shaking without lifting a finger. See, the most dangerous kind of justice doesn't come with noise. It comes in the form of evolution. You changed, and now they can't control the narrative because you stopped playing the part they wrote for you. And that alone, that's the collapse. You want to know what really burns them? It's the fact that you never had to stoop. You never had to fight dirty. You just outgrew the battlefield. You stopped reacting and started rising. Let that be the punishment. Let them wake up every day knowing that everything they said you'd never become, you became. Everything they swore you couldn't do, you're doing with grace and silence. Your glow is the verdict. Your success is the sentence. Your name is the truth that won't stop echoing in rooms they can't lock. You don't need revenge. You are the receipt, the blueprint, the consequence. So don't slow down, don't look back. Keep shaking tables they thought were stable. Let your rise be the truth they'll never escape. And if you're still wondering whether they feel it, trust me, they do. Your rise is louder than any rumor they started. Your absence is heavier than any lie they told. And now, every move you make is a mirror, forcing them to face what they tried to bury. So keep rising. Keep shaking the table. You don't owe them closure. You are the closure. If this message hit something deep in you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop 88 in the comments to claim your power. Let's keep pushing this truth into every room they swore you'd never reach.